Definitely Warner Brothers is hyping up this week in terms of Superman. I'm glad that nobody's spoiling the trailer at this moment. The press, however, did come out with something super interesting, super action-y. The press got to go to the set of Superman and got to talk to James Gunn about a bunch of things. I'm going to specifically pull from Gizmodo things they've learned about Superman. Now, there's a couple of things on here that we learned about the Superman movie, especially the title. Remember how the legacy was dropped? Well, James Gunn kind of explained it, that the legacy for him, he thought the title had a looking back feeling about it, and this isn't about looking back. This is actually about looking forward. But he did mention this, because it is about Clark and his relationship to his Kryptonian parents and his relationship to his human parents, and whose legacy is he really? Which gets me thinking that his parents must have been cast. So I'm really convinced we're going to see his parents, maybe flashbacks of the farm, or him going to the farm. We're going to see flashbacks or even holographic images of his Kryptonian parents in the Fortress of Solitude, something like that. It's going to be more serious than Guardians of the Galaxy. There is humor in this, but he wants to make sure you understand. This is not the type of comedy that we see in Peacemaker, Suicide Squad, or Guardians of the Galaxy. He even talked about the music in this movie, and he does say John Murphy is doing the score for Superman, and it's largely an original score. He said there's nods to John Williams, and then also John Murphy's created this incredible, beautiful score, but the one thing, it is a score. It's not a soundtrack, so it's not about the songs. There's a few songs in it, and of course I chose those songs beforehand, but it isn't like any of my previous movies. Really, in terms of the score is what drives it. It's a much more of a score film. I'm really happy about, because like I said, the needle drops and those types of music work in other ones like Guardians of the Galaxy, because he's got the mixtapes and that works for that. But this is different. This is Superman, and I'm glad he understands that, and I'm glad that it's going to be more score driven. It's a more of the music rather than songs. I'm wondering what the rest of the score is going to sound like, and is it going to be completely unique to this version of Superman? He even talked about the trunks. Gunn didn't want the trunks, but then said yes to the trunks because of this. We were trying on all these different versions, and we screen tested with trunks and no trunks, Gunn explained. And one of the things David said is that Superman wants kids to not be afraid of him. He's an alien. He's got these incredible powers. He shoots beams out of his eyes. He's this incredibly powerful but could be considered scary individual, and he wants people to like him. He wants to be a symbol of hope and positivity. So he dresses like a professional wrestler. He dresses in a way that makes people unafraid of him, that shows that hope, that shows that positivity. So we had David Corenswet to thank for putting the trunks back on Superman. And I like this idea. I think that makes total sense. Either way, trunks or no trunks, I would have loved it anyway. He also dived into the cameos, and he says it's pretty much, they're not just cameos, but that there are characters. They're supporting cast, and they all have their moments in the sun, and they all are part of the plot. But mainly, it's still about Superman, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor. Gunn even says we've never seen a Clark and Lois relationship like this in any superhero movie ever. And Lex Luthor, All-Star Superman, really influenced him more than anything, and that this Lex Luthor is that sort of Silver Age feel, that sort of science fiction approach with gadgets. He's really a sorcerer in a way. He was inspired by many different Supermans. He was, of course, inspired by Donner's Superman. He even said he was inspired by Snyder's Superman and also the animated Superman. So a lot of that inspiration is brought to this Superman movie while at the same time making it his own. And that's what I want to get into when he talked about the action. Gunn wanted there to be an incredible action, not just on the ground, but in the air too. And to do so, they took inspiration from some very cool movies and pushed other technologies forward. Being able to shoot stuff in the sky is really hard. So we took a lot from films like Top Gun Maverick. We shoot a lot of our action with actual drones flying in and around Superman and the people that he's flying with, the engineer and whoever else that he's fighting up in the air. And we did that on sound stages. We got these really small, crazy drones now, not the ones that are in New Jersey. We've got some of the best flyers in the world here who are working with it. And that by far is one of the exciting things for me. We're going to have some aerial battles, kind of like the aerial battles that we've seen in Man of Steel. And I love Man of Steel's hardcore action because it reminds me of Dragon Ball. I'm a big Dragon Ball fan. I love seeing that. Series like Supergirl or Superman Lois took a lot of inspiration from Man of Steel. In order to see that level of action for Superman is really cool. The visceral Top Gun Maverick flight scenes is also incredibly cool to hear, and apparently beginning in this movie starts right in the middle of an action scene. This is largely a standalone film, but he does say that there is some setup, but if it doesn't work for the story, he'll just cut it out. There is definitely a setup because this Peacemaker takes place after the events of Superman, so we'll definitely see some of that. But it's going to tease the larger universe. The second film is Supergirl, so I'm going to guess that it's going to, at least in a way, tease Supergirl. Maybe Millie Alcott will show up. Who knows? You know, I want to add is fantastic. I just love it that the Super family is in the forefront of this whole thing. We're going to have the first two cinematic movies in the DCU is of the Super family, Superman and Supergirl. But he understands there's a lot riding on this. There's a lot of pressure for it to succeed. He said this: I'm miserable. Really, I'm miserable, but hopefully it's for the greater good. One of the reasons for that seemed to be pressure he's putting on himself to make sure his version of Superman is great, because if it's not, there's no guarantee we'll see more DC movies after that. There's a plan, one that involves Creature Commandos, Peacemaker, Supergirl, and others, but if Superman doesn't work, well, things could change very quickly. A lot is riding on Superman, he said. I mean, we're not going to just keep making movies. That is, unless Superman is great. That's fundamentally the whole issue, right, with this. Why this film, Superman, is so important. Because no matter what, money talks. And money, the studio needs to make money. And it needs to have a great positive reaction. So the trailer will definitely be the first indications. You have to make a great impression. And so I am all for this. I think from what I hear, the trailer is fantastic, phenomenal. I don't know. I have, of course, experienced it for myself, and I can't wait to do that reaction on Thursday morning. But I also know that I can't be the only one who likes it, and a few others can't be the only one who likes it. A lot of people, almost like a lot of people, and the general public, the general audience has to like it as well in order to come to watch this film. They didn't show up for the last 4 DC movies, but if they show up to this, then there is hope that this DCU will continue and DC will prosper. Because if it doesn't, it's back to the drawing board, and you know we ain't going backwards. They're still going to go forward. There's going to be a new Superman, and we're going to start over years and years from now after they make like 4 or 5 Batman movies. So please, Superman's got to work, and from everything I'm hearing, I think it will, but I'm still kind of like, I hope it will. So here's to looking up, because hopefully it's getting better. Let's go.